Today, I came across a new way to prompt using AI and create better automations. And so I thought I'd share that with you guys. If you've tuned into the stream before, you've seen that I use TLDRAW a lot. I use it as a canvas to explain concepts, and all of the time throughout the stream, I'll jump out of one scene and into another scene and diagram it up using TLDRAW. But when I went in there today, I stumbled across a new feature that they've just released that I think is absolutely powerful and really, really quite strong to do things that I find myself engaging with, especially using prompts and using flows and creating automations. So since I was playing with it and I used it to create my stream schedule, I thought I'd take you guys through a few of the concepts and how they can be used for whatever you want to do. So first things first, we'll just jump into some examples and go through what it's capable of doing. So with the TLDRAW, you guys will probably be really familiar with like different canvases that have elements that link together, and you can go from, you can quickly create an object and connect it with arrows and lines, and it's a really easy way to communicate ideas. But what they've done is they've added a compute component to TLDRAW. So if you head to computer.tlddraw.com, what you get now is something a little bit different. You're able to work with text, images, models, cameras, speech, websites, files, sliders for like ranges of values, and even integrate with date and time and things like APIs for ultimate extensibility. So there's a lot of powerful stuff in here, but we're just going to use this hello world example initially to give you an idea of what this thing can do. So text hello world is going into a text object. And so you can see the output of one object becomes the input of another object. So no longer are these just like boxes that float abstractly. Like usually we'd be able to go like, we'd make a rectangle and we'd say like, this is text. This is text. These objects now are very different, a lot more complicated. Just not text in a box. This is an actual text object. And so the outputs of this text object are treated differently. You'll see there's this little play button and this lock button. Lock allows you to say like, say if I didn't want this value to change, not really. If I go like this, we'll notice that the value gets locked so that the data didn't come through. If I unlock it, you'll see that the output did go through. So we've got a play button that causes this thing to produce an output as an input to something else. And this is really, really powerful. So let's head back to give you an idea then of, so there's all sorts of other things. There's like graph nodes with instructions. I think it's in instruction components are where this thing becomes incredibly powerful. So instructions allow you to put something in as you would a prompt to an LLM. So for instance, basket cats text goes into write rules for the game. So we're going to write rules. I've never seen this, so we're doing this for the first time. We're going to write the rules of the game for basket cats, and that's going to have a new instruction that writes a newspaper article summarizing the championship of the game. It's going to produce an image for it. It's going to create some text for the rules of the game, and it's going to use both the fact that it's writing the instructions and the text to create an image. And then ultimately, we're going to get text for a newspaper article documenting what happened and the image output for the game, as well as the rules of the game. So let's give it a go. So basket cats, we'll leave it as the default and we'll let that run. What you'll see is instructions will start to think. And so up the top here, it gives us an indicator for the workflow running. We can stop it to interrupt it at any time. But before the next thing can run, the current thing needs to finish. So these instructions will finish. We can see that the rules have been popped out here with basket cats for the description of the game, with its objectives, the components, the setup. And then at the same time, it will now use another instruction to say, okay, whiskers of furry, blah, blah, blah. It talks about a championship, an imaginary championship that's been created. And from there now, it's going to take the rules of the game as well as this heading for the championship of the game, and it's going to produce an image that outputs the result of that. So I'm not sure exactly what we're about to see, but it should be something along the lines of, an image about the championship of the Basket Cats game. So there we go. So we've managed to generate an image straight up from that one prompt. So now this is really powerful, right? Because once you've created this whole workflow, we can do something like, something familiar like Pac-Man. If I run this prompt, the whole thing is going to regenerate, and those instructions are going to go through, and this whole thing is going to cascade down, resulting in a new completely different image. So to give you an idea of where this will be powerful, in our stream, I do a thing where I generate emotes for our viewers, right? And you guys often see me like code that up, not exactly code. I prompt engineer up a unique emote for viewers that stick around in that community. And every time I tend to like go back and forth and create this like thread of context for it to get the right result and to get a consistent result. And what we can do now is, rather than doing that in GPT, there's a very good chance that I'll use the context to get consistent results for those emotes in a different way that produces outputs a lot like this. So where this becomes even more powerful again is you can use images as inputs. You can even do things like camera. If I use camera, I can use the camera image as an input. I can use like my spoken word as input. I can do all sorts of things, and that would feed into these long chains of things to produce outputs. So for me, another thing that I might consider doing with something like this is I use AI to generate a lot of my branding assets. So I could create a whole prompt system where I have all this context about who I am and what I do as a brand, and feed that into something that then can say like, I want a new, I want a new icon, or I want a new, even a whole website. So here's another very powerful thing that we'll show you. This output, it can even generate websites, which I found really, really, really impressive. If we connect the output of this image to a website, and also like this, we can then say, if I wanted to, I could say, all right, make me a website about the event that happened, this Pac-Man Pro event that happened, including this image. And so it's going to now go and think and produce a website. And more than that, which I found really impressive, I've worked with things like Webflow before, and like other website builders. What they do very poorly, they might be quite good at making the website itself. What they do very poorly, I find, is actually give you an output that you can use. And when this finishes generating, you'll see I'll be able to hit a little button at the top right and copy the HTML out of the web page, and then go and paste it and use it wherever I want. So again, very, very powerful. So now we've got a website, cool font that matches the Pac-Man Pro. It's got a whole bunch of text. So now we've got a website that looks and feels like this image and uses the context of this page in a way where I can even, let's see, it's regenerating there. But if I right click, where was it? There was a copy website button. Yeah, copy HTML to clipboard. So right now I have the HTML for this website in my clipboard, which is absolutely phenomenal. That's an incredible feature. Can't believe that that's possible. So to show you what I did with this and give you a little bit more context, I was trying to figure out, all right, how would I, like you guys know, I have a big problem with not completing tasks. I tend to create many projects, and I don't necessarily finish them. And so I was thinking, it would be nice to automate what I did based on the projects that I have in the pipeline. You guys leave a lot of suggestions in the Discord, which is absolutely amazing for me to go and take and build ideas. And so what I can do is I build a backlog of these ideas. And so what I've been able to do from this is create this node network that now, with every one of my projects, for instance, let's say we want to take OnPoint to PC. We want to rebuild OnPoint in UEFN. You guys will remember I've been streaming that. We want to, like Allure, there was an amazing game jam we did that went incredibly well. I'm excited about finishing that and at least putting it out and like as a demo or something on Steam. We've got a whole bunch of creator collaborations that we want to do, like the digital swear jar with FastV. We want to do the dev feeder is nearly done. We've got the treadmill that we're going to do with Creator. We've got the Lontel, we're going to launch the based stream tools. There's lots that we need to do. There's lots that we need to do, heaps of different projects. And so what I've done here is I've added a bit of context about the things that might be possible and might be valuable for me as a brand and me as a company. So for instance, the number of days I think would be left in order to complete this task. I've put in how much it could earn on the low end and the high end, how complete it is, what it might do for me, whether it creates more opportunity or doesn't, and how likely I think it is to succeed to help scale things like this cost, right? And so I feed all that information into instruction, which says summarize the project information for me. That pushes out project summary information here, which then feeds in. So each of these gets its own summary. That feeds into one giant summary. So I want to kind of like concatenate all of that information together. And from here, it's going to follow these instructions. It's going to use, I also, before we proceed, from here, I can generate a formula that evaluates all the information there. So I've given some prompts to say, are you sure you want to reevaluate the formula? Create a formula that uses these values to weight it. Like how should it decide what score every project should get in terms of its priority? And then here it's generated a formula for me. I went back and forth with it until I was happy with it. We could have put a switch in here to turn this on and off, but I've just got rid of the line. And so now that formula that it prompted is used as an input for a new instruction, as well as the output of all the different projects to say, okay, generate a numerical score for each of these. Don't explain the methodology or anything. Just give me an executive summary with each of them and the scores for all of the projects. And so that's produced this. So it's gone through and it said, okay, the dev feeder is 95% complete. It's low risk. But on the downside, it's got no financial earnings if we do the thing. It'll take about this much time to do. So we're scoring it like this using the formula that came up here. And then we're going to put that in this ranked list. So the highest priority it thought was the dev feeder. The next one is finishing the digital swear jar. And down the bottom of the priority list is on point PC, right? All of that gets fed into this instruction that says, okay, so to show how like this is a useful thing on its own, like a prioritized to-do list for me, pretty useful. The next step though is, okay, let's say I want to get more concrete with it. And I'm going to say, get the date and time today. So get today's date and generate a to-do list, ignoring everything but the projects that I should be looking up to do. And then I've got, Monday today, the 8th of September, we're going to be doing the dev feeder. Tuesday, we'll do the dev feeder. Then we're going to move on to the digital swear jar. And the beautiful thing is, at any time, as a new suggestion comes in, I can just like introduce a new variable here and add in a new project. So I'd really like to launch Flow, the productivity management tool that I've created as for the game studio for Actuator. And like I can just modify this or add this and then click regenerate. And so for instance, let's say I thought, to give it some context as to how this will work, what if I thought that on point Fortnite map instead could make something like, $40,000. If that was the case, what would the result be? So I'm going to go summarize that project. And so you'll see all of this flows downstream, right? This new information gets fed into the summary. From there, the text gets regenerated. From there, downstream, our instruction runs and says, okay, we now need to reevaluate where everything fits into the priority list. So the instruction's going to compute. It's going to spit a result out here into a new instruction that uses that. We're not doing any formula stuff. So from here, we'll notice it's going to regenerate this priority list. So we're going to get new priorities. And from there, it's going to summarize that to be, as soon as this finishes, I'm actually surprised by how quick this works. I think under the hood, it's using Gemini, especially with the image generation and stuff like that. I'm not sure exactly what it's using for image gen. We're going to see, and I really would like to experiment with some other stuff. But yeah, I think I'm going to look a little bit more in N8N, into N8N and see what it's capable of, and self-hosting now that we have a new, more powerful computer to stream with. But so you can see it does take a little bit of time. You can interrupt at any time, and you can generate just one part of it. okay, so it's now regenerated the list, and now it's reevaluating all these different priorities. From there, it's going to reprioritize those instructions, and then it's going to say, okay, these are the things you need to do based on those new priorities. And so I think actually I hadn't regenerated some upstream priorities. And so it thinks like editing videos about these projects are more important than actually doing the projects now. Perhaps because I didn't connect through this additional context where I decided I would make a dependency. The digital swear jar, it depends on the instructions of like, okay, what I'm essentially saying here is account for the fact that you can't make a video about the digital swear jar until the digital swear jar is done. And so along the flow, that was lost this time where it wasn't last time. But in theory now, what I could do with this is I could have another output where, there's these data points. I'm pretty sure, sorry, not website data. There's a new data point. I'm pretty sure I could now in custom post this data to an endpoint and then write my own little either N8N integration or my own little REST endpoint or something like that that says, okay, now go push this information out into a stream schedule. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. If I can get information, and I believe I can use this to get information in as well. If I can somehow, and this is one feature request I would make to the developers of TLDRAW for this particular compute component of what they've built, I think it's absolutely amazing. If you could have a way for me to, with an API, trigger inputs in the way that you can with something like Zapier or N8N, then I could put this as a part of a bigger workflow where I design some system where, for instance, Flow, my productivity tool, could feed information into this, and then it could have an output where it posts data back. That would be absolutely fantastic. But I loved TLDRAW just as a whiteboard, but the power of adding these large language model capabilities to this is really, really quite cool. I think this is fantastic. So I'm going to be using it more. I'm probably going to be following these. Every week I might reevaluate my streaming schedule using this tool. And as new projects come in, I'll throw them in potentially. Maybe even if it's possible to integrate as inputs to this, then like I might use it as a component to a bigger system. I really like microservices and things that are portable, where you can plug one in thing and just like use REST endpoints to communicate inputs and outputs. If they could support something like this, I think it'd even make this more powerful for advanced power users. But on the whole, I find this whole thing really fantastic. So I just want to share it with you guys. And yeah, so if you're up for the stream schedule, I'll be trying to keep a stream schedule. That was one of my objectives. And so now I've got a tool to quickly figure out what that is without me having to sit down and think too much about what I ought to be doing. I'll just jump in, regenerate this, post this for the next week. And then, yeah, we're off. So thanks for tuning in and checking out this new feature set for N8N. I think it's fantastic, and I'll be using it a lot in future, maybe even on stream to do things like generating emotes. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. All right, see you.